It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the three business owners of the podcast Pro Sports Podcaster. How are y'all doing today?
I'm good, thank you, Brandon. It's a pleasure to have you on. My name is Neil Willis Bruce.
I'm good. My name is Colbert Durand.
And I'm good as well. As you can see, my name is Justin Williams, and multitasking king is what I am.
That's wonderful. Nico, can you talk about how y'all got started with the podcast?
Yeah, look, it was the end of 2020, and Justin and I were actually on a different podcast, but we felt that it was a bit limited in terms of what it was putting out. So we thought it was a bit too localized to where we are. We're in Toronto, and we wanted something that covered more sports and also had more of a focus on women's sports as well. And I knew Colbert Durand from some videos that we've done for fantasy football. We've done that in the previous couple of years. And I knew that he was a really good producer with his own channel that he has on YouTube where he does golf, fishing, and fantasy football. So I thought it was a good fit. The three of us come together. And yeah, we got started in January, and we just passed our 50th episode at the end of June. So it's going strong.
Justin, how did you know that you wanted to interview professional athletes and people working in professional sports?
Good question. I've always been a huge fan of asking questions, especially to athletes, like those who can't teach, right? So I could never be a professional athlete, but I've always wanted to know how they got there. What was their meal prep? What was their growing up? Like what shaped them to be who they are essentially? And especially when it comes to women athletes, because they don't have much of a platform. So when they make it to the highest rank, it's like, well, what was that motivation? Because it's obviously not financial. So what is it? Is it the love for the game? Is it somebody you knew? Like, what was that driving factor?
Of course, Colbert, how did you come up with the name of the podcast?
It's actually Colbert is the pronunciation of my name, but we threw around a number of different potential names for the podcast, and I learned the hard way that a name that isn't immediately recognizable has a hard time gaining traction. So we just decided on the most obvious. It's three of us. We're all doing a podcast. It's about professional sports. So it just came out pretty simply in the end. Let's go with the most obvious potential name we can think of. And I like it. It worked. It works. It's good.
Of course, Nico, how did y'all know how to get professional athletes on your show?
So my name, just to be clear, is Neat, like the body part but different spelling. So I had experience with that from a different podcast, but it's just been a little bit of trial and error, and then just forming a process from that. I think we just spoke off air, you and I, it's been using social media, and then just going off that. How do you get guests on your show, Brandon?
Of course, through Instagram and LinkedIn.
Okay.
Justin, of course, how do you go about getting some of the guests, and who are some of the notable guests you've had on?
Well, actually, Nee is the one who goes about handling the guests. If anything, I'm in Toronto Talk Sports in a past life. I was a slight headhunter where I would kind of be like, "Hey, we're doing hockey. These are the people you should probably try to go for." And then Nee would work his magic and zing zang zoom, and we would get some people on. But notable people, oh my god, I think one of the first ones that come to mind is Remco Pardue. He was the first one we had. He was in the UFC. Kobe actually was the one who recommended him. Shout out to Kobe for that. And oh god, we've had so many that I really enjoyed, and most of them I can't pronounce because I'm horrible when it comes to pronouncing names, so I'm not even going to try.
You're a Matt Cause fan, though. You're a Matt Cause fan.
I was going to end on a Matt Cause, but I was going to be like, but the superstar person in my biased eyes is Matt Cause from TSN. Shout out. I will tag him in this because I love Matt Cause. He is the best. But again, I'm biased.
Who are some of y'all's favorite people that y'all have interviewed so far?
Matt Cos.
Kobe?
Louis Aguiar was an awesome interview. Louis Aguiar, former Pro Bowl kicker in the NFL. I mean, honestly, you're talking about a kicker, so it's somebody that you don't hear much about during a regular season. There isn't a lot of talk about kickers, but the stories he told us, especially in reference to Joe Montana, was just phenomenal. I love that interview.
Of course, when it comes to the people, do y'all only particularly interview like football players and basketball players, or do you go all sports like women's soccer and women's hockey too?
Try
Yeah,
pool.
yeah. So
Billiards.
So that's what-
Fencing.
we
Water polo.
that's it. Our tagline is "No sport left behind," right? So we cover all the sports. No sport is left behind with us, and we try to think about the calendar, see what's coming up, but at the same time, we've covered everything. So we've covered the 4 major sports in North America. We've covered soccer, covered snooker, water polo, surfing, volleyball, fencing. What else we have? We've covered athletics, track and field. We just feel like these are sports that are, I mean, they're Olympic sports, but they just don't get the love by big media. So we want to put them on the map and get their athletes a platform as well.
Of course, when it comes to non-professional athletes, who are some of the people working in professional sports that you've interviewed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as Justin mentioned, Matt Cause is a broadcaster at TSN in Toronto. So it's him. I mean, we've interviewed
A
athletes.
number of broadcasters.
Eric Pincus too from LA. Yeah.
Eric Pincus from NBA TV. Colleen Coyne, the president of the Boston Pride and NWHL. There's been a lot of non-athletes or athletes that have gone into media as well. Kevin Barnett, who's at Fox now as a volleyball commentator, and there's a lot.
What is something that all of y'all knew now that y'all didn't know before y'all started?
I mean, Justin could be kind of a prick. So I didn't know about that. I thought he was a nice guy, but behind the scenes, you have no idea. You have no idea.
I knew that. I knew that.
You didn't warn me, though. You didn't warn me.
No, well, I didn't know he was going to be so rude towards Pascal Siakam, but
Oh my god. He deserves it though.
no, he doesn't.
It's a different conversation.
What advice would y'all give somebody looking to interview professional athletes and people working in professional sports?
What advice would we
I'd
give?
say the most important. Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry, it cut out for a quick second, so I was just trying to make sure I heard the question properly.
Yes. What advice would
Oh.
you give somebody looking to work in interviewing people in professional sports, whether athletes or coaches or anybody in professional sports?
Kobe, you feel like taking that one?
Yeah, I'd say the most important thing to begin with is you can't just be a fan. As much as we are fans of a lot of these people, when you're interviewing them, you can't just be a fanboy about it, right? You got to come at them with a few hard questions at least to make it legitimate. I mean, Justin doesn't, but for the most part, me and I do our best to actually be professional.
Nico?
Look, sorry, I'm just thinking about what Kobe just said. We do, as you can see, we do like to have some fun on the show, but at the same time, as Kobe touches on, it is important to bring a little bit of the serious side, especially with some of what these athletes are going through. So we like to bring out those stories. So I would say be persistent and be resistant. Like it's not gonna be easy. As I'm sure you found out with your own, Brandon. It doesn't just happen. It takes time, but you have to have a strategy and a plan. And we're lucky that we have guys who are committed with this, and that's how we've grown. Because if one of us is having a bad day, the other ones can lift him up and say, "Hey, let's keep going." And that's, I guess, how
Yeah.
I keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, if I could expand on that a little bit. Like, we like the kid with Justin, but Justin does fantastic job. For instance, Justin is the lead correspondent for our podcast with the NWHL. And he was in on every single after game, I guess, question series with a number of other different media outlets. And to be entirely honest, he was one of the only ones asking legitimate questions.
I appreciate that. And to kind of like touch on that again, yeah, it's awesome to be a fan of the person. Like when we had Matt Cause on, like I told the boys before, I think I even told Matt Cause during the interview, I was like, dude, I'm such a huge fan of yours. But the thing is, you have to remember, keep a sense of professionalism, right? So although you don't want to be taken too seriously, you don't want to be taken extremely lightly either. So when it comes to athletes that I'm awestruck with, you have to remember that these are just people as well, and they want their story told. You know, obviously with the exception of like maybe people who've been interviewed numerous times, like I guess maybe LeBron James, but even still, you have to give that sense of urgency as if they've never been heard. So it's like when I approach an interview, I always want to know, I'm very big on the backstory, as I think I mentioned. So it's like, well, how did you get here? Tell me that, like, tell me the ground roots of everything. And then like me and Kobe, they hit from questions that I would never think of, which is what makes it so diverse. And neither one of them talk about poutine. So that's where I come in and just make sure that everyone knows that poutine is the best food ever made. So
You ever had a poutine, Brandon?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
Where are you from, Brendan?
North Carolina.
So basically a poutine is fries, cheese, and gravy. And it's delicious.
But you can add brisket. You can add a brisket. It's nice. Like a brisket poutine, that's good.
I prefer it with bacon though. I like bacon on top.
Of course, who are some of
Kobe
the
likes bacon.
people who are some of the people that are coming on in the future?
Me?
Yeah, well, look, mate. So definitely, if you're watching this, check us out on Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your audio podcasts. We've got some good stuff coming up this week. I can tell you that we've got Olympic gold medalist and professional surfer Kaylee Gilchrist. She won gold in water polo in Rio, and she's going back to Tokyo this month to do it all again. I know we've got some MMA with Bellator aficionado Bert Watson. He's been in the combat sports game for years, and so we're going to be talking to him about combat sports, boxing, and Bellator MMA. So if you're into the combat fighting, you're going to want to listen to that episode. Kobe and we are fantasy football experts. So later in July, we're going to be taking you through some fantasy football. So Kobe, tell us about the newsletter that we got for our subscribers.
Yeah, so beginning in the first week of August, basically anyone who subscribes to our PSP email list through our website is going to receive a weekly email, edited, written, completely composed by Justin himself. And in case you didn't know, Justin is a professional stand-up comedian, so you're going to get a little more than you bargained for in some of these weekly emails. But it's going to go over a number of things, including our fantasy football advice every single week. And we don't charge shit for that. It's completely free.
Yeah, so if I can just touch on that real quick. It's going to be broken down, so it's very easy to read in a sense. We're still testing templates of it because we learned as I tried making it that the service that we use, it's kind of a pay for the good ones. So I'm trying to make a good one to like a default template, and I'll do it. But anyways, you'll have like little brief past segments of what you missed like this week for whatever reason, if you're busy, what to expect coming up, what's going on currently within major sports or sports that we think would be interesting, a random joke of the day, and then something to do with media. So like one of my friends really got into soccer because he started playing FIFA. So I'll obviously recommend like a movie maybe to watch or a game to play. Like if you're kind of interested in MMA, here's a movie to watch, could get you hooked. Here are some highlight reels, just, something we'll figure out depending on obviously what the week is to bring.
So Brandon, let me ask you a question because this should be back and forth. What sports are you into?
Professional football, of course, professional hockey, professional basketball, and college football.
You're a Panthers
North Carolina, baby. Tar Heels, buddy. Tar Heels.
Starting off with you, Nico, what advice would you give somebody looking to start interviewing and start getting a podcast started?
Mate, it's just I've seen different stages, right? So I've seen some start up and then just flame out, and I've seen some that'll start it up and endure. The ones that endure, it's a plan. You have to have a vision and something that you can check up on because when you do this, you need to be asking yourself every day, what is one thing I can do to push this thing forward? And then just action it, right? So whether that's getting guests, whether that's coming up with content, you need to be on it. Because if not, you will fall behind and then you'll eventually give up, right? You also need to, you just need to be setting goals. So in terms of listenership and stuff like that, you need to be seeing some progress. Chloe, is that something you would agree with?
100%. First of all, you need to know 100% what you want to be, what you want to achieve from this content, from the podcast in the very beginning. You have to have that set and done. You're just going to do it for entertainment's sake. You're doing it to educate your audience. You're doing it because you yourself want to meet interesting people. You got to know what that's all about. And then you can't expect to have whatever the picture is in your head of what you want it to be to happen overnight. If people actually look through our podcast, we're in our 3rd season, you're going to notice that every season has significant differences and steps up from the previous season. We knew we couldn't achieve this overnight. This is something that's got to build. So we add a certain level of professionalism each individual season to improve upon the last. And that way, people who are fans from the very beginning, they get to see the benefits of that. They get to experience that. And they get to kind of grow with you, which makes it more of a give and take with your fans, as opposed to you just talking at them and expecting them to listen.
Yeah, and again, to touch on all that real quick, I think it's good to kind of celebrate the small victories, right? So when you get your first download, woohoo! When you hit your like 200th download, when you get certain amount of viewerships. Like I remember when we first started this, I think Nee had talked to me. It might have been all three of us. I don't exactly recall, but he was like, "What's your 1, 3, and 5 year plan?" And the first year, I was like, "I just want to hit 1,000 downloads." Fudge, we did that in how many months? 6, 7? I don't even know. Like we did it quicker than anticipated.
3 months.
3 months. Yeah.
3 months. Yeah. 3 months.
Yeah. And like that just blew me away. So like I celebrated that 1,000 so hard that I don't remember what month we're in, as you just noticed. But yeah, so it's like, okay, what's the next goal? What's the next biggest victory we can achieve? Maybe 5,000. That may be a bit of a stretch. Obviously not this year, but that's my next milestone I want to see. And for me personally, is a 5,000 download, like a 5K. So celebrate
Brandon,
small.
I'll say this. I just lost my train of thought. Oh, wait, no. You're also going to be open-minded, because the thing where Justin was in on the press conferences with NWHL, that was because I had a conversation with Digit Murphy early in the NWHL when they were starting up the bubble. So that wasn't planned. That sometimes you just need to be open-minded and consider what opportunities may come your way. But I could have said, "Oh no, we're not ready." I just said, "You know what? Yeah, we're just gonna do it." And
Why not?
right?
Exactly. And now we have a good kinship with them, and there's some behind the scenes stuff that we're working on with that. So very excited for NWHL next season.
That's so amazing. Justin, where can my listeners find all of y'all's podcasts at on social media and podcast platforms?
Woo! Social media. So you can follow us on Twitter at PPodcasters. You can follow us on Instagram at pro.sports.podcasters. It's all linked together. We're on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher. Also follow our Patreon too, which I don't exactly recall the name of that right now, but it's all part of our link in bio. And if you subscribe to the newsletter, you'll get quick and easy access links to everything I just mentioned.
And
That's
Twitch.
And Twitch. Yes, Twitch. Forgot about Twitch.
And Facebook twice. And
Facebook. Yes. God, Facebook.
That's wonderful.
That's why there's 3 of us.
Thank y'all all again for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Pro Sports Podcaster.
Hey, Brandon, are you using a green screen?
Yes, I am.
So do you do everything green screen or no?
Yes.
You do? Yeah. Okay.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank y'all all again for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
So thanks, buddy.
Same to you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.